Welcome to the ASSA ABLOY booth. And I am joined with everybody's favorite LinkedIn personality,
I don't know about that.
Benji.bolick. Benji, thank you very much for joining me for this video.
Of course, my pleasure. Yeah, happy to be here.
So the reason why I'm here and why I grabbed this guy off the show floor is to highlight the partnership between ASSA ABLOY and HID. Obviously, the mobile credential guy, it's very important in terms of partner ecosystem to have a credential that works across a variety of different devices. And that's the biggest challenge today is, okay, I've decided on HID for a signal reader. And I've decided I need wireless locks, and maybe I have other extended use cases in my organization. Maybe I need to protect a data cabinet.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to, I don't know, secure print terminals, things of this nature. And it's like, okay.
Like pharmacy, medicine cabinets.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You wouldn't throw a HID reader traditionally on a cabinet, right? Like
Right, exactly right. And so, but then when you start to think about that and what that looks like, okay, well now which vendor am I going to have to work with, and am I going to try to start sticking square pegs into round holes?
Yeah.
Or is there one manufacturer or one solution that works as a tightly controlled ecosystem? And that's, I think, between our partnership at HID and ASSA ABLOY.
Yeah.
So what I thought would be really cool would be to have Benji walk us through some of the most compatible products that we have, and some of the ones that are going to be sort of top of mind when we're doing an access control deployment. So Benji, if you don't mind, just kind of start taking us through some of this.
Yeah, now I'm not going to go on like a deep dive into the product details or technical offerings, but I definitely want you to understand that there's a large portfolio of locks that you can utilize other places in your building. And so I think right here is actually behind you, Phil, a great place to start. Guy is our IN 220. It's our PoE locks. So it's an IP-based protocol. And what's the advantage of something like this is traditional access control. You have to run all the different wires, where this is just an Ethernet cable. You plug it back into your network, and you're good to go from there. It's energy efficient, very secure, because it's you're managing your network, you're managing your locks as well. And another benefit is HID mobile credential available, so you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love about these is there's no reader that has to be wired onto the wall next to it and have to like make all those connections up in the ceiling or up in the door frame. This is just like all one piece, nice integrated lock set.
The controller right here, where traditionally you would have the controller in the box above the door or down in the panel. This is the controller right here, and it makes it really simple. This is honestly my favorite lock, and I'm not biased either. Like honestly, if I didn't even work for ASSA ABLOY, outside looking in, this just makes a lot more sense. And you look at like HVAC is going power over Ethernet,
right?
Lights are going power over Ethernet. Everything's more connected now than ever. Why wouldn't your door locks be
exactly
connected?
And it's funny you say that too, because like in the security space, on the patch side, we're super concerned with like weekend wiring versus OSDP. And we go to OSDP because it's more secure.
Yeah.
Well, what's more secure than running a Cat6 cable, power over Ethernet to a switch that's locked down, right?
Yeah.
So that can't be any more secure, really.
Yeah. Your most secure door in your building is that IT closet, right? It's that.
100%.
Like, think about that.
Yep, absolutely.
And these are all just point A to point B.
Yeah,
there.
what's that?
That looks like a signal reader.
It is a signal reader. So having a partnership and being part of the family of HID, it makes a lot of sense to just utilize, like, why reinvent the wheel when you don't have to? So traditionally this would be on the wall or the mullion or something like that. We put it into what we call an integrated lock set. So where all of that wiring and stuff, instead of going from the electric strike, the door position switch, that's all built into this lock.
And so I'm assuming that this is all customizable as well in terms of color, finish.
Oh, yeah. Sergeant, Corbin Rustling, all of them have actually probably too many different varieties. Like it's over, you have too many options, right? But all the custom finishes, all our more design-friendly aspects to it as well. But what I really like is they take the mullion reader and it makes it look really sexy on the door. Can I say that? Can I?
I think so. Well, you just did.
It's a really good looking lock, and it's really natural. When you approach a door, usually card readers over to the left or to the right or something like
Right.
that. You're walking away from the door to scan your mobile credential,
Yes.
or your badge or whatever. It's right there on the door, and then like, oh, the lever's right there. It's right there. Oh, I'm gonna walk
Right.
through, right?
And I would think, depending on what side of your wrist you wear your watch on, if you did have the credential on your watch, you could just sort of in one fell swoop just go here to here.
Yeah.
So, yep, much nicer
You're
user
good
experience
to
for
go.
sure. Now,
I didn't think about the watch. That's a great idea. Yeah.
that's why I'm the mobile evangelist. So then, moving off of this guy, moving into this one. Now, this kind of has that similar Signo aesthetic, but obviously it doesn't say HID on there. So what is this guy?
Same components built into there. This is one of our server cabinet rocks. Again, we're reaching doors that you normally wouldn't see with just your traditional HID reader. And so same components built into, regardless of where you need mobile access, we can get it there for you.
And one of the reasons why I really like highlighting this particular lock set is because best practice dictates if you're going to deploy a mobile credential, really any sort of credential technology, if it's a key or if it's a card or if it's a mobile credential, that credential has to work everywhere. You can't have somebody guessing, oh, do I need a key for this and a card for that and a mobile for this? You're never going to get buy-in, and humans will just default back to the path of least resistance,
Exactly.
right? Whereas with something like this, if I do have a cabinet or a data center or something like that I need to protect, and I've decided to go with a mobile credential on a wallet or in an app, it's got to be able to work on these as well. And this is certainly one of those.
Yeah, no, exactly, yeah.
Now, what's the difference between this one and this one? Is it just a different finish?
No, it's different finish, different options, and this is just highlighting that the OSDP is built in there natively. So,
I see.
yeah.
Very cool.
I mean, if you're looking at traditional Wiegand and OSDP, I mean, I guess that's a whole other conversation. Maybe we shouldn't even go down that rabbit hole.
It is a very distinct conversation. I mean, my stance on this is OSDP is what everybody should be deploying, specifically OSDP V2 with secure channel, which completely eliminates the possibility of somebody being able to get in the middle of the communication between the reader and the panel. Like, that's the worst possible scenario you could possibly have. But going back to the PoE lock, there's no possibility of getting in between that communication.
No.
That's so much more secure. But sometimes you got to use a traditional reader, and in that case, OSDP V2 with secure channel is the way to go.
Exactly.
So we've moved over to another section of
more locks, more
locks,
more accessibility, more
and
openness.
I think that kind of highlights one of the other aspects of the physical security industry, right? Is like every application calls for something a little bit different. Not everything's just going to be a signal reader on a door.
Exactly.
Right, and sometimes Wi-Fi works, sometimes PoE is what's necessary, sometimes it's OSDP, sometimes it's Wiegand. Like, there's a lot of nuance here.
Yeah, exactly. There's doors out there that are really difficult to get wires to. And that's where wireless locks can really play an important role in your security system and access control. And what we see a lot is our intelligent Wi-Fi locks. And so these, again, are IP-based, like the PoE locks, but it's talking to your infrastructure that's already built in there, which, I mean, what building doesn't have Wi-Fi, right?
Right.
We have Wi-Fi here. We have too much Wi-Fi here. Like, and so there's no, the controller's built into the back, and this lock, it's not real-time wireless, but it will wake up, or you can send off protocols to have it wake up. As opposed to, but it's
how often will it wake up? I'm sure it's customizable.
It's customizable. Right? Generally, we see 1 to 2 times a day, depending on when you need to revoke access or add new access or see all of that. But there's also ways that you can configure it to where, hey, if there's an invalid credential that pops up, it's going to wake up and be like, hey, something's up. You should take a look at this. And again, you can use one of our very many access control partners to utilize their VMS system and plug that all in as well.
But, and how long can you expect the batteries to last in something like this?
So again, it depends on how often it wakes up,
Right.
but we see lifespans from 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And standard like AA batteries?
Yeah. It's 6 AA batteries just built into the back there.
And will it give you a notification if the batteries are starting to die?
Yes, of course, obviously. That would be, it's not like an alarm or a beep that people are just going to ignore. It's back into your access system. It'll give you an alarm like, hey, this battery is running low. You can even streamline it, to put it into like your workflow, to send out a work order and stuff like that. There's some really cool stuff that you can do with this.
And of course, it accepts a mobile credential.
Yes, yeah. Actually, this is one of the biggest mobile credential locks for us because we see it on campuses all the time. Dorm rooms. This is our number one dorm room because the infrastructure is already there, but they're looking for a way to add access control because how many keys do you think they're managing in a dorm room?
Yeah,
a lot. Keys. Yeah.
And how many of those kids are losing their student ID on the regular?
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. No. So not only that, think about the process that you would have to take to replace your student ID. You can't get into your room. Like that's such a pain. But you're not going to lose your phone. You have your phone on you, right?
Yes.
I have my phone on me.
Yep.
And we're in the middle of filming something, right? Like
yes.
It's always there.
Matter of fact, my watch keeps tapping me. Somebody's trying to call me, but they're busy.
Yeah.
So
this is more important.
I agree.
Yeah.
Maybe, depends.
So, same technology built over here, but what we're displaying is you can actually have the ability to add a keypad. And so you can have dual authentication on a wireless lock, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Okay, so I could do card and pin or mobile and pin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is all, other than that, this is the exact same.
Exact same lock. It's Wi-Fi lock, so you're using your existing infrastructure and it just goes back to your network, and just like the PoE lock, but through your existing Wi-Fi infrastructure.
Fantastic.
You can save a lot of money on access control. Think about how traditional access control, how many wires that you try to get to all those dorm doors, right? Like, this is a great application for those doors that you don't need real-time access, but you still need access control.
Yes. So the question that I have, and I'm sure it's a question that's been asked 1,000 times, is what sort of bandwidth do I need to support this on my Wi-Fi network? Like, do I need to build out a bigger Wi-Fi network to support something like this?
Great question. A lot of people are like, oh man, I'm managing 300 locks in this building. Like, that's going to overload my band. It's about the same size of email attachment. So like if you're attaching a photo,
it's about that size.
It's about that same size, and it only happens when it wakes up. And you can schedule that when the students are sleeping or whenever that. So you should see little to no impact on your infrastructure.
That makes a lot of sense. Like the way that I was thinking about it was like every time somebody's credentialing in, I'm sending a transaction over the network. But no, it's batching it, and then whenever it wakes up, it's sending it out.
Exactly. It's storing all that audit trail on that lock.
Got it.
When it wakes up, it will deliver that information, unless you have an alarm set up on it to where like you need to know if someone opened that door and they weren't supposed to open up that door.
So question for you.
Yeah.
I'm thinking specifically about students and like lockdown scenarios.
Yeah.
So if this is a offline lock, is there a way to push a lockdown?
So there's ways that you can kind of trick the system, but we find if a student is in their dormitory or in an application where you would use an offline lock, you're probably going to be behind that door, and what you have is a shelter-in-place button right here.
Okay.
So even if someone was able to get an intruder or someone that's with nefarious intent gets a hold of a credential, they're probably not going to get a hold of a mobile credential, first of all.
Right.
But even if they get a hold of a credential, they can press down this lockdown button, and then it shuts down the outside. But you still have key override, so if emergency responders still need to access, and obviously you still have free egress, so they can escape if they need to as well.
Gotcha. And then, like, just being a complete ASSA ABLOY nerd and geek, could I replace this with like a Medico XT cylinder?
Yeah. So that would be.
I know my ASSA ABLOY.
You can, and that would be like, I don't know, double, triple access control in there because you're auditing the key trail, the physical key trail, and the access control. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Show us more.
Okay, let's continue. The next locks I definitely wanted to highlight is our Imperial Wireless collection. This is probably the most versatile electronic locks that we have, and it's real-time wireless. So what that means, you can have a lockdown signal. So you can have that, someone at headquarters is hitting down the button and it will lock down any door that you need. It's all connected back. And what happens, it's a little hard to see, but the locks are talking to a hub, and the hub is wired back to your access control system.
So this is not Wi-Fi?
It's not Wi-Fi, no.
This is over I would assume like a secure radio channel?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how does that impact battery life and performance?
So it's constantly talking back and forth. So we do see a little less battery life. It's still pretty good. The transaction that's happening is so quick and so efficient that we're still seeing over a year battery life to most of these types of locks.
And I'm assuming, especially with readers like these are going into really unique circumstances where you're
Correct.
not deploying hundreds of these on battery. You're probably deploying something like this in a glass door environment or somewhere where you really just can't run any wires, right?
Yeah, well, our cabinet lock, actually, here's a picture of it back here. Our cabinet lock, we've seen people set up a whole locker system. So we've seen hundreds and hundreds of these used, but it's like UPS has access to it, so they can drop off their.
Okay.
So it's like a smart locker system that
Sure.
they've set up. So
Absolutely.
it's rare that you see hundreds of them, but it's impossible.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Now, this again has a very familiar shape and look to me.
It does, yeah. It looks. It's almost like we have similar designers.
Yeah,
or
it's
like
almost
that.
like we're like the same company.
Yeah.
Almost, not quite. So what is this guy?
Okay, so this is the Securitron DR 100, and it's basically a reader with relays that you can wirelessly put wherever you need it. So it just has outputs to where you can program it to what you need it to do, but you can stick it almost anywhere that you need it. So
theoretically, I could put this like on a glass door or something
yes,
like that.
no, but you see it on glass application because glass doors are so hard to get wires to.
Right.
And if you do, it's like, ooh, you can see it all. No one wants
it's
to see
ugly.
that. So yeah, you can glue that guy onto a glass door and still get real-time access control, which is really difficult to get.
Absolutely.
And it can be talking to a strike or something like that to add that.
Mobile?
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
And what is it? Is this just?
Yeah.
Is this the same?
Yeah. This
one?
is like the opened up version of this.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And what is this?
So it's sometimes you need cases where there's some pretty remote access control that you might need.
Yep.
This is a padlock. So think about fences or gates that you might need real-time access to. They're almost impossible to get to. But if you have a reader within range of one of these, and we see, I mean, it depends on what RF interference you have,
Sure.
but like up to 100 feet or so. That's what we're recommending. I've been in situations where I've seen, like, I don't know if I could say this, but of wireless connection. And so if you have a reader that's at the front of your school and this is a gate that you need access to, you can have real-time audit trail, everything that you can see in your typical access control system on a padlock.
That's fantastic.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Because there are going to be situations out there where you still need one of these. Like it's a gate. I'm not putting a mag lock and a reader and all that sort of stuff. But if I am within the right range and the right distance, something like this will work.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So, Benji, this is probably one of my favorite devices on the show floor. Again, it's got a Signo-ish sort of look to it.
Yeah.
But talk to us about this cabinet lock.
Yeah, so we can all understand the growth of IT infrastructure that we have out there. Think about all the data centers that are getting built out there and then farmed out to other different companies that you use, and that sometimes you need to restrict access to different gates. Actually, find more often than not, you want to know who went into that gate or who came out of that, but they can be very difficult to connect. And so that's when we came out with this HES cabinet lock. And again, like you said, it looks very similar to Signo.
Yeah.
Got some similar designers. This is actually the same lock they were talking over there, but it's good to see it in application. And it's also FIPS compliant. So like if you are in a government entity and you require those extra measures, like this is natively FIPS compliant. So
Is this wireless? Is it PoE? Like how
you can do it either or. So you can hardwire it or have it wireless. So
Would it be a Perio or would
it would be a Perio.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
very cool. Well, one of the other reasons I really like this is because it actually has our mob key
Yeah.
in it, and it will actually work with our
Get to see
HID mobile
See
access.
the magic happen.
Yeah,
here,
so
right?
like no smoke and mirrors again. Here's my stock HID mobile access app. Present it to the reader. I get my read. It opens up. and now I'm in the cabinet. And why I think this is so important is, again, for that use case support, that extended use case support where folks are used to using a card.
Yeah.
Well, now you've transitioned to a mobile credential. That mobile credential needs to work in every place that that card would have worked. Number one. Number two, especially in data centers.
Yeah.
Knowing who actually had access to that cabinet is incredibly important. And yes, I can provision somebody a card, but there's nothing to say that Benji couldn't give me.
Oh yeah, can I
his
see your card for a second?
Yeah. Let me just go credential in.
Yeah.
Can you hand me your card? I forgot mine at home. You're not forgetting this at home.
No.
Right? So.
Oh, can I have your phone for a second?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Yeah, so I really like this, and then is this just like different form factors here?
Yeah, so I mean, this section is really just kind of like those specialty case use locks. So these are a little bit more less smart than these other ones. I don't know if we even need to talk about that with mobile credentials, at least.
Well, you know what? I like to highlight something like this because, again, not every application is going to be for a mobile credential.
Yeah, no, it's true.
You may still need to protect a cabinet with a key.
Yeah.
And if that's the scenario that you're encountered with, that's fine. Call Benji. He's got a solution for you. So we're back in the Aperio section.
Yeah.
This is the hub that you were talking
That's
about.
the hub right there, yeah.
So now, how does this get wired back? Does it get wired back to like an access control panel?
Yeah.
Is it going over the
Yeah.
network?
It depends on your head end, your access control system, and what they're opened up with their Aperio section. But we see like IP hubs that will go back there, and that enables a larger number of locks. But it's your typical wire. I mean, the same things that you would wire up to your door would be wired back to this. It's just communicating to this, which is then talking to the lock.
And how many locks or how many readers can I pair with one of these hubs?
Again, it depends on your access control system, but we generally see like it's 8 to 16 locks within that 100 foot range that we recommend.
So, I mean, if you've got more than 16 doors and 100 feet, I think we've probably got bigger fish to fry at that point. So
exactly.
Then talk us through these, because I see that they're wired to these lock sets.
Yes,
How is this working?
So these two right here, actually newer Aperio products for us. This is the more traditional, mortise cylindrical Aperio lock that you see in more applications. But we wanted to introduce the technology to more openings. So this is actually your Adams Rite Steelhawk electrified, and we're just using basically that Aperio reader to interface with the lock. So you can have a wireless, sometimes storefront doors are really difficult to get wires to, especially if they're on pivots, because you don't have that power transfer. So this is a simple way to, hey, all you have to do is drill a little hole to get that wire through to get to the reader, and you're able to have a wireless lock on doors that you normally wouldn't have that on.
See, and you know what I really love about this? This goes back to like that ecosystem conversation we were having earlier with this type of setup, where my mind goes when you say retail is like, let's say you've got a franchise of coffee shops or burger restaurants or whatever it is, and corporate-wise, you've decided to roll out a mobile credential program. But that also needs to trickle down to those individual franchise locations or those individual store locations. But to your point, sometimes wiring those doors up for electronic access control can be challenging.
Yeah, it depends on the building infrastructure, and each franchise could be really different. This is something that you could standardize on, and you know that it's going to work for every door.
Yeah, this is actually really cool, and the fact that it's battery powered as well is like that. To me, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like if I were installing technician, this would be on the truck.
I mean,
as standard.
I've heard technicians say like, if I'm going to get wires to this door, it's going to be $15,000 to get traditional wires to this door. Why not go wireless, save yourself a ton of money and work effort and install, but also it's real-time wireless access control. Same benefit of a hardwired door.
So Benji,
yes.
Thank you so much for the tour. And by the way, like what we showed you was just a small section of that corner. Like there's so much more going on over here, and like even now I see like a Signo-y looking Aperio.
Oh yeah, that's that Steelhawk right there. Yeah.
So like there's so much more to offer. In fact, in the aisle over, there's the turnstile folks.
Yeah. Entrance systems.
Entrance systems. You've got gate systems. You've got the Traka key management system.
Life safety power.
Life safety power. So like from one ecosystem, you can literally have limitless options, right?
Yeah.
There really is no reason to leave the HID ASSA ABLOY ecosystem for pretty much any physical access control system. So I guess then the question becomes, who do you call? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's a large company.
Yes.
Right.
Anytime you have a large company, there's going to be complexity and there's going to be different divisions and all that. But I think the safe bet is reach out to your local rep if you have one. If you don't know your local rep, reach out to one of us. Like, I'm happy to get you in contact. I know almost everyone at ASSA ABLOY, which is a lot of people to know. But like, I'd like to. Is that bragging? I'm somewhat well connected.
Yes.
And so I can definitely
You're a
help
popular guy.
point you in the right direction. And I think that's added value for what we do for the industry and why we do these videos,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I feel the exact same way. If you have questions about HID and you don't know who your rep is or you don't know who to contact, call me.
Yeah.
Leave me a message. Send me a text message. Shoot me an email. All my contact information is down below. I'll be sure to include your contact information.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I was surprised by when I joined HID was literally how many people work at ASSA ABLOY, just like in the DSS side of the house, the ISS side of the house. There's resources out there. And again, if you don't know who that resource is, you've got one right here.
Yeah, I'm happy to point you in the right direction and open up some doors for you.
Absolutely. Well, Benji, thank you very much for your time. If you have questions, comments, if you would like to learn more about anything that we talked about here today, again, all the contact information is down below. Thank you for making it this far in the video, and we'll see you on the next one.